From the Quantum Fiber Studio, this is Wyman and Bob.
On Seattle Sports.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Dave Wyman and Bob Stelton.
Mike Lefko and Dave Wyman here with you. We are live at Seahawks minicamp. It is going to be a very fun afternoon here. A lot happening out here on day one of Seahawks minicamp. We're going to have John Morosi coming up at 2:30. Boye Mafe joins us here in set at 3 o'clock, assuming we can get some of the microphones working. Jacob Green at 4 and El Hombre at 5. Dave, I'm thrilled to be trapped in this small room here with you for the next few hours. How's it going?
Is that right, Mike?
Yeah.
You really are thrilled?
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Yeah. We had a good time out there. We have a lot to talk about from Seahawks minicamp. Yeah. We can talk about that in a little bit. Do want to get to the Mariners because they had an interesting game last night. And by that, I mean, it was kind of wholly frustrating for a while, and then they had that rally late. I'm curious how you feel about this, and the text line as well, 866-979-3776. Was it actually worse that the Mariners rallied only to lose?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I honestly was on the other side of that. I was like, wow. And I think, look, you're gonna lose games and in all kinds of different ways, but yeah, I just thought the ability to come back. When you're watching a game and like you get on ESPN and it will be like they give you that percentage chance of winning. Like at this point in the game, I know they do it for NFL games. I was thinking it had to have been like 1% chance, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it was wild.
And then the guy that you call up, Canzone, who's really done a good job down in Tacoma. He was hitting like 286 and I want to say it was like 11 or 14 bombs. And, for him to just have the confidence, and you just saw after, he hit that and he was like screaming at the dugout and flipped the bat and everything. I was like, wow. And, when that happened, Mike, when they were able to get there, I honestly was thinking, I don't really care if they lose. Really, I just thought the ability to come back and just to hang in there until the very end, because there was 2 outs at that time, right?
2 outs, and then, Canzone was down to his final strike.
Yeah.
So it was very impressive.
Yeah, so to me, I mean, that's how I felt about it. But, I mean, again, we always talk about last year they missed the playoffs because of one game, and hopefully that's not the one. But, yeah, I mean, it was to me their ability to come back there, I thought was really good, and for a guy like Canzone to just step up and I don't know, I get excited. I'm like, maybe this is going to be like who he is. He's going to become a really good player and a really clutch player. But there are just certain players that are able to come up big in big moments, and you have to have those guys. And, that's like we always talk about, and he didn't make the top 50 list, but Jordan Babineau. I mean, there's a reason why he's called Big Play Babs, because in big moments he stepped up. And he made a ton of plays that saved them games. And so, it's just nice to know that you have a guy like Canzone who, I mean, to me, if that was me and it was my first time playing in the big leagues, and you could see where somebody would fold in that situation. And he just had a ton of confidence. I loved that. So, yeah, I mean, it was very disappointing. And that's a team, and how many home runs did they hit? Two, I guess, but
yeah,
I mean
the first and the last.
Yeah, exactly. So, you had the walk-off grand slam. They opened up with the home run. So, yeah, I mean it was. That's a team that hits the crap out of the ball. They really do. So you look at how many home runs they have. I think now they have 93 home runs. So, yeah, I mean I don't know. I felt like that meant something. But I also think let's see what happens tonight and see if, maybe they can build off of that even though they lost.
Yeah, I would hope that's the case because I'm actually more frustrated. It's a little more disappointing that they lost. You're kind of split in the moment. When it's 4-0, the Mariners had mustered no kind of offense. You're thinking, all right, well, this one's over, move past it. When the rally's happening, certainly that's exciting. When Canzone hits the game-tying home run, all right, that's potentially one of the moments of the season. But they had to finish. And so the fact that they do that, they come back and then they can't finish, that's what's frustrating because you do all of that only to still lose and kind of not have your high leverage guys. So to come all the way back, you were then forced to use Munoz and Vargas. And we'll get into the thing about Matt Brash, but you come back, you have to use your high leverage guys. So now they're not available. So you almost burn Munoz and Vargas, for no reason. And I know there were some questions and scrutiny about Brash and if they were going to use him. I didn't really mind that because, they needed someone to pitch after they had the lead. They just never took the lead. So I think, Dan Wilson kind of explained that. He was asked after the game if Brash was available to use.
Yes. Yeah. Brash would have been an option at some point tonight, too. Vargy had such a quick inning. It was, pretty safe for him to go back out there and do it again.
So, yeah, Dave, now I'm thinking, okay, you need to win in kind of blowout fashion because Munoz came in and pitched. Vargas is not going to be available. Brash would be available, but all the strain on this bullpen because of all these close games, it made it sting a little bit more because it was kind of a heartbreaking loss after they came all the way back.
Yeah, I guess if they don't show that similar kind of moxie the rest of this road trip, then I will be disappointed. But I'm just wondering if that might be something that gave them confidence going forward. And, especially coming off of the Kirby performance, I just thought that was significant. There was a couple outings there with Kirby where you were like, man, maybe he's just not going to be the same. And he comes back, and then in that case, he goes 7 innings. Then you bring in Brash. Then you bring in Munoz. That is a perfect way to use your bullpen. So, yeah, I was really excited about that. But again, and I would say that if they don't finish this series off in a positive fashion, then I'll be like, all right, well, that whole Canzone thing was just for naught.
Yeah. Well, and let's get to the tough news of the day. After the fact, Dan Wilson announced that Bryce Miller is on the IL.
Evans will pitch tomorrow. Bryce is going to be an IL. Similar, it's the same issues he had the last time. Cortisone shot wasn't as helpful as we had hoped, so he's going to be an IL, and Logan Evans will start tomorrow.
And Wu on Wednesday?
Yes.
Yeah, so the right elbow inflammation, and it's the same thing. And that's kind of concerning, that we talked about Bryce Miller yesterday and mentioned he just wasn't right. Now you wonder how long, because he's not going to come off after 15 days like before. And now it's just kind of wait and see how long this really is for Bryce Miller. So we will get into that in a little bit. But if you missed any of our show or just want to go watch things again, check out our Wyman and Bob channel on the Seattle Sports YouTube page and search for Seattle Sports on all social media platforms to find segments like our conversations with Seahawks players, Mariners players, and much more. Big show coming up today. We are live from the Virginia Mason Athletic Center. We have mini camp observations to get to. Dave and I were out there for a couple hours. John Morosi joins us at 2:30. Boye Mafe after practice is done, approximately 3 o'clock. Then one of your guys, old teammate Jacob Green at 4 and El Hombre at 5. But coming up next, there is some news around the NFL and some big news for the Seahawks. You'll get to all of that. It's the Wyman and Bob Show on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
It's the Seahawks' only mini camp of the offseason, and Seattle Sports is there.
Always a fun conversation. Julian Love.
You see Eagles flying around, you can't beat it.
Live from the sidelines, all day today, with Bump and Stacy live from VMAC beginning at 10 a.m.
Seahawks wide receiver Cooper Kupp. Does it feel weird to hear still?
Yeah, I'm getting used to it.
Followed by Wyman and Bob at 2, all the way up to Mariners pregame at 5:30. We are the home of the Seahawks. Seattle Sports on 710 in the Seattle Sports app.
Imagine finding your dream home and moving in right away. No waiting to sell your old place first. Sounds perfect, right? That's exactly what Orchard's Move First, Sell Later program lets you do. Buy your new home now and sell the old one later. Here's how it works. Orchard gives you cash so you can buy and move into your new home first on your timeline. No waiting, no showings, no double moves. Then the Orchard experts take it from there. They handle repairs on your old home for you so you attract the right buyers. Once they're done, a local Orchard agent lists and sells your home for top dollar. Orchard's Move First program gives you the freedom to buy and move into your new home first and sell your old home later. Buy before you sell and get top dollar for your home with Orchard. Ready to find out how much your home is worth? Visit Orchard.com to get your free home valuation. That's Orchard.com.
When businesses thrive, communities score. That's why Bank of America is the official bank of FIFA Club World Cup here in Seattle. And our more than 95 local business specialists are ready to help your business win. What would you like the power to do? Learn more at bankofamerica.com/local business. Bank of America, official bank of FIFA Club World Cup 2025. Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6580. That's 800-583-6580.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Ooh, ma. What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
The home of the Mariners.
It is gone! Cal Raleigh, 2-run home run!
Hear every pitch on 710 and the Seattle Sports app.
Well, I'm here with my good buddy, Dr. Dan Nelson from Eastside Pain and Regenerative Medicine. And you've heard from Dr. Dan's patients over the years how a simple stem cell procedure has successfully conquered their pain. Well, folks, now it's my turn. After years of dealing with knee pain from all the football abuse, I can say my knee pain now is almost 100% gone. How'd you do it, Dr. Dan?
Well, Brock, personally, I'm very happy that you did so well. And your story is like so many of our other patients who come in, former athletes and non-athletes as well, who have come in with chronic knee pain, and they are looking for alternatives besides knee replacement surgery. And we're happy to provide this service. It's been truly a game changer for so many folks. It's just been a pleasure to be part of this.
Consider Dr. Nelson, the only doctor with over 30 years of experience in pain medicine techniques, including stem cell therapy. I was in and out with a couple of follow-ups. It's a non-surgical solution to pain using your own stem cells. Consider stem cell therapy with Dr. Daniel Nelson, MD at 425-823-4000 or visit DanielNelsonMD.com. That's DanielNelsonMD.com.
You're losing your hair and you simply need a solution that works. You want the best. Modern technology, top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need world-class Dr. Perungo and his team at Advanced Hair. Advanced Hair has completely redefined hair restoration. From the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, thinning hair, maybe all three like I had. Get your hair back with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment that begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day. Advanced Hair has changed tens of thousands of lives, including mine. And get this, Advanced Hair is once again the winner of the 425 Business of the Year. For your free consultation, call 425-449-8185. Right now, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that redefined hair restoration. That's 425-449-8185. Or for the before and afters, visit advancedhair.com.
This hour is brought to you by Legacy Group Capital's Northwest Fund.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Wyman and Bob.
Weekdays 2 to 7.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Mike Lefko and Dave Wyman here with you. We are at the Virginia Mason Athletic Facility. Beautiful day for football. 2-day minicamp happening. Dave, they canceled the 3rd day. That's how good I think they're going to work. They prematurely canceled it. They're proactively canceled it, saying, you know what? Mike McDonald believes this group's going to get out there and take care of everything they need to do in 2 days. So now just Tuesday and Wednesday for Seahawks minicamp. Practice is wrapping up. We'll have Boye Mafe join us at 3 o'clock. There was a lot to like out there, so we'll talk about everything we saw coming up in just a second. But right now, let's take 2. We discussed this a little bit earlier, Dave, but Logan Evans gets the start tonight. Bryce Miller was placed on the IL officially earlier today with right elbow inflammation. Hey, how about Evans' final start? He went the 8 innings in his last start against the Nationals on May 27th. And then, such is the nature of baseball, he was sent down right after. But Logan Evans back up there in a big opportunity tonight in Game 2 against the Nationals.
So awesome that he had that kind of outing his last time out, and that was in that first game where the first game of the series of Washington and the Nationals came in here and took the series. But 8 innings, 1 earned run. I mean, and he had only 4 strikeouts and 1 walk, but still, it's so nice. It's such a bonus to know that you have a guy that you can bring up if somebody gets hurt and that he's effective. And it just amazes me that the Mariners are always able to get those kinds of performances out of somebody that we hadn't even really talked about. I mean, during spring training, I don't remember talking about Logan Evans.
I don't think it was expected that he was going to come up this quickly. They had tinkered with moving him to the bullpen last year down in the minors. It went okay for 10 starts, 10 outings, then he went back into the rotation. It was a guy that, they had been eyeing in that next wave of the pipeline, but certainly I don't think anyone could have envisioned a 12th round pick coming up this quickly within 2 years of being drafted. So you have this start, and it's been good for now, and you were mentioning it, Dave. They need it. I mean, they need another huge effort tonight from their starting pitcher.
Yeah, and he's got a couple of quality starts. Also at San Diego, he had a really good performance, 6 innings, and in that one, no earned runs, just 1 walk and 3 strikeouts. So, yeah, I mean, it's just nice to know that, I mean, we've felt kind of snake bit as far as the injuries have gone in the rotation, and it sure is nice to know that the Mariners are just going to continue to develop good pitching.
Well, I'm sorry about this news, Dave. I know you don't always consider this a position. Maybe you can for a guy like Michael Dixon, because the Seahawks earlier today signed him to a 4-year, $16.2 million extension. He is now the highest paid punter in the NFL.
How about that, man? You know what? Here's the thing. First of all, I love watching him in pregame. He is when I go down on the field before the game starts, Rabel and I walk down there, and I always go over and watch Michael Dixon. And he just has some amazing kicks where, he'll hit like the 5-yard line and it'll just go sideways, out of bounds. And he's just incredible. So, yeah, I mean, and also, he looks like a guy that could probably make a tackle. So I don't mind that. But how about, $16 million for a punter? That's pretty incredible. But, yeah, I really appreciate his craft. And, like I said, he really is a weapon. And I remember, I've told this story a couple of times, but Bobby Wagner, I remember in it was a preseason game against the Vikings, and Dixon kicked, he had a punt that went like out at the 3-yard line or something. And I remember Bobby Wagner going over there and dapping him up and like jumping around, was all excited and everything. And you should feel that way. I mean, if you're a defender, getting a drive that starts like inside your own 10, I mean, it just sets your defense up for success. So, yeah, he is definitely worth it.
It's funny because when we were out there and then he started to punt, they were going through the special teams portion of their minicamp. I was kind of thinking, all right, these better all be amazing. You just signed this big deal. You're the most expensive punter in football. No, but he is a bona fide weapon. So good to see Michael Dixon get locked up there. He has some stability. Both special teams positions do have some stability because this will run through 2029, so it's a 4-year deal in addition to being on the final year of his contract. And then another one of your guys, What do you forget? I forgot what you forget when you call Jason Myers another name.
Oh.
I was trying to think of the fake name you called Jason Myers. I couldn't even remember the fake name, but Jason Myers, who has been a Pro Bowl kicker in the past, he's signed through 2026. You have a couple years of stability for the special teams positions for the Seahawks.
Just now when you said Jason Myers, I was like, who's that?
Yeah. He's the kicker, Dave.
Yeah, okay.
The big thing that they have out there, the yellow goalposts.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember the fake name that you call him. I can't believe I forgot that right now. But yeah, Michael Dixon locked up for 4 more seasons after this year, a 4-year, $16.2 million extension. Take Two is brought to you by Swedish Cyberknife. Treat prostate cancer with Swedish Cyberknife. Swedish.org/cyberknife prostate. Now, Dave, something I want to get to quickly here for a couple minutes, and we'll get back to it as we talk about mini camps going on around the NFL, but there are a notable number of holdouts among star players around the NFL. Trey Hendrickson, TJ Watt, Jalen Ramsey, and Terry McLaurin, all absent, all want new contracts. Is this a big deal, or is it just kind of the nature of the beast now that veterans, they know they have some leverage? They don't need a mini camp as much as some younger guys do, but it is kind of striking. You see so many stars not in mini camps right now.
Well, especially the Trey Hendrickson one is very I feel bad for him, actually. And I understand why he wants a new contract, because he's had 17.5 sacks 2 years in a row. I mean, he has been pretty much the star on that defense there in Cincinnati. And I don't know, it's got to be frustrating that they don't appreciate your game. I mean, they obviously appreciate the receiver and the quarterback there, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, he has just performed. And then TJ Watt, I mean, if that guy's on my team, I'm like, we got to sign him. He is incredible. TJ Watt's one of my favorite players to watch. But yeah, it's nice that we don't have that. But yeah, I mean, it's something that happens every year. And Jalen Ramsey also, that's a guy that I think a lot of people think that he's. I remember one time on Hard Knocks, he walked out of away from an interview and stuff like that. But I've heard really good things about Jalen Ramsey, that he's actually a really good teammate and everything. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that guy has been a really good player. And I think he has kind of a negative connotation whenever anybody talks about him. It's like, oh yeah, he's like a problem child. And I don't think so, man. I think he deep down is really a good player from some of the things that I've heard about him, but don't know much about Terry McLaurin and other than until Jaden Daniels got there, that was really their only superstar on their offense.
Well, he's got the good nickname, Scary Terry.
Oh,
that's his nickname. So that's that's not good to see. I guess you're the Commanders. You have a young quarterback coming off an NFC Championship game season, but the Bengals really seem like a disaster. So in addition to the Trey Hendrickson issue, they still don't have their first-round pick, Shamar Stewart, signed. They were trying to work a little wrinkle into his contract, and it gets dense, so we won't go into the details. But Shamar Stewart is not practicing, and that's a rookie. You need him out there. Can you imagine if the Seahawks didn't have Gray Zabel out there right now going through minicamp? So no contract signed with Shamar Stewart. The Bengals are just a little bit of a chaotic machine over there. We'll talk about that. We have plenty of time to talk about the NFL. We'll get you our minicamp observations at 3 o'clock along with catching up with Boye Mafe. But coming up next, Dave, we had the pleasure of just talking to this guy on Friday, John Morosi, one of our favorites. We get to catch up with him again, and maybe he'll make us feel better about the Mariners. We will catch up with JP up next here on Wyman and Bob on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Brock and Salk, morning 6 to 10.
We got a lot of baseball to talk with Jeff Passan today.
This is now a 29-game stretch where we're 11-18. Who are these Mariners on June 10th?
They're the team that at the beginning of the season we thought they were going to be and that they can't hit. Like, if Cal Raleigh is not in this lineup right now, I mean, I don't even know. They would look like the Rockies.
Brock and Salk, morning 6 to 10 on Seattle Sports, the app, YouTube, and your smart speaker.
Hey, have you been considering surgery or even joint replacement? Hey, it's Dave Wyman here, and after years of football, I know all about bad knees. So I recently had a consultation with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. I've heard so many patients rave about stem cell therapy with Dr. Wagner. People with severe osteoarthritis, even bone on bone, are back hiking, jogging, playing tennis, skiing, golfing, even just going up and down the stairs, playing with the kids and grandkids, and doing it without pain and, most importantly, without surgery. Dr. Wagner's 60-minute outpatient procedure uses your own stem cells, which can regenerate your own cartilage in your own joints. Dr. Mark Wagner is a board-certified Seattle physician with over 30 years of experience, and he's performed over 20,000 stem cell procedures. And he's one of the few doing it the right way. So whether it's a shoulder, hip, elbow, ankle, wrist, or knee, before choosing surgery, see Dr. Mark Wagner first. Get the facts, then get back in the game at drmarkwagnermd.com.
Are you trying to buy a new home, or are you a local real estate agent seeking financing for a client? We're all tired of dealing with banks, credit unions, and endless guidelines. Wouldn't it be nice to go back in time when we had common sense lending? Hi, I'm Scott Rureka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital based in Bellevue. We are one of the largest local private portfolio lenders in Washington. We've helped thousands of home buyers and real estate investors reach their financial goals by leveraging the Legacy Common Sense borrowing platform. What that means is we lend our own money, we make our own decisions. If your deal makes sense, we'll get it done. Whether you're purchasing a new piece of real estate or refinancing an existing loan, bridge loans, construction, or regular home loan, it doesn't have to be as difficult as banks and lenders make it. If you're trying to grow wealth through real estate acquisition, come talk to the experts in private lending.
Call 425-635-4700 or LegacyG.com. Legacy Group Capital, your common sense lender. LegacyG.com.
LeeJohnson.com is a dynamic research tool.
We want to give the customer enough information to where they don't have to go anywhere else to research any of the questions they have. And if they want more information, we'd love to be there to help. We don't want them to feel like they're dependent on emailing us or texting us or calling us just to get the information they need. So we put it all out there. We call them digital retailing tools, big fancy calculators where you can get in there and change the terms and change the payments and change the cash down. And it'll give you a disclosure of, hey, when you do this, this means here. And a consumer can get on there and do a lot of this themselves. And then if they choose to get us involved, we can actually get involved on the backside of it and help them along the way. We want to give the consumer the same tools that we have and let them understand what we understand.
Yup, that's pretty much what you'd expect. The LJ Way is the Lee Johnson Auto family.
Do you know a woman that gives her all to the sports community, encourages diversity, and empowers those around her? Shannon Dreyer here. Seattle Sports is partnering with the Seattle chapter of WISE, which stands for Women in Sports and Events. We want to recognize a woman in our community, and we need your help in finding her. Nominations for the 4th Annual Women of Inspiration Award are open until July 11th. The winner will receive a donation to the cause of their choice. Nominate an inspiring woman at woiseattle.org.
The home of the Mariners, Seattle Sports.
Cal swinging a drive, deep to right field.
Every pitch of every Mariners game is on the Seattle Sports app.
Allergy and sinus symptoms are annoying. They're frustrating and can ruin an entire day. They're also curable. I'm Dr. Stern with the Stern Sinus Center. We can free our patients of awful symptoms by testing and treating their allergies to simple, non-invasive treatments. Stop suffering from nasal congestion, sneezing, runny nose, facial pain, and even snoring. Let us help you get relief. Easily, quickly, and permanently. We're local in Federal Way and in Auburn. Come see us or book your appointment at sternsinus.com.
Hey, Mike Salk here with some exciting news from a family-owned business that's local here in Western Washington. Yeah, we love to root for these guys. It's Riverside Roofing, and they've once again earned the prestigious GAF Master Elite President's Club. So you might remember I've been talking about only 3% of roofing companies nationally qualify for GAF Master Elite status. But how many of those achieve President's Club? Well, that's only 2%. Truly the cream of the crop. Proudly from Marysville and serving homeowners all over Western Washington, Riverside Roofing is the roofing company you can trust. So what does that mean for you, the homeowner? Well, it means you're hiring the best. A company that gets high marks in performance, reliability, and service, plus an elite warranty to match. Highly reviewed and highly recommended, certainly by me. Riverside Roofing is your go-to local roofing contractor. Book them now for a summer project and get that roof done fast. I highly recommend them. Go to riversideroofingllc.com. They are the roofing company you can trust.
The Mariners are back in action at T-Mobile Park, and you can be there for big moments all summer long with a Flex membership. Flex plans are perfect for fans who want the freedom to choose their games and seats as they go, while still enjoying all the perks of being a member, like saving 10% or more on tickets with no fees, unlocking access to exclusive pre-sales and year-round discounts, and so much more. Join the squad today at mariners.com/flex.
Cal Raleigh wins it in the 10th inning for the Mariners.
I've never heard a person walk out of the stadium and say, wow, I wish that game would have included more waiting.
He is an endless source of baseball and hockey knowledge.
José de Ríos, el lanzador de Puerto Rico en el Clásico Mundial de Béisbol.
Sean Morosi, every week with Wyman and Bob.
You're being serious with me right now?
Oh, we are serious for the second time in, what is this, about 4 days. We get to catch up with our guy, John Morosi, on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Mike Lefko and Dave Wyman here with you at Seahawks training camp. But we're going to talk a little baseball, a little Mariners baseball, and everything else happening around Major League Baseball with our guy, John Morosi. JP, how are you doing today?
All right. We're getting color bars there.
We'll wait. We'll get JP back on.
We'll get JP back.
He will be there. I trust John Morosi.
You got me now?
Yes.
Hey, there you are.
All right, very good. So here's the thing. So here's why I was momentarily not audible, because I speak with such excitement about Seattle sports and the Mariners that I had to actually manually turn my dial down, and I think I actually turned it all the way down to 0, because basically I have 2 settings in life: asleep and full tilt. And I think that basically we had set the audio to asleep, and now I'm back to full tilt.
JP, what is that jersey behind you there, number 10?
So here we go. You're asking 2 very good questions. I'm actually wearing one of my workout clothes. I actually just got back in from a workout. I've got my Bowling Green State University baseball pullover on, and the jersey behind me. It's actually a very fitting question that you ask. That is Francesco Totti. That is Il Capitano. He was the captain of the Italian national team when I say as a proud Italian-American, we won the World Cup back in 2006. Actually, he was vice captain. I think Fabio Cannavaro was actually the captain. Be that as it may, the Azzurri are in a bit of a tough spot. Italy, for those who follow soccer closely, we lost to Norway last week in a World Cup qualifier 3-0. That was not part of the script. And so they were able to bounce back yesterday in a thrilling 2-0 win over Moldova. But our manager has been fired in the midst of all that. Ooh. So Italy is now trying to figure out who the next manager will be to carry us forward. There were some rumors about Ranieri, some rumors about Gattuso. So it's a lot of uncertainty right now. But I am very, very closely following the ups and downs. And in fact, next week, I'm going to have to talk to Mike about potentially adjusting our routine, because I'm actually going to Italy. Now, among the potential reasons I'm going, either to fix the Italian national team, to speak with the Pope about his beloved White Sox, or to just go for a vacation. Not really clear how it's all going to play out, but I trust that I will come back with some great stories to tell either way.
Well, JP, I really think you should choose the option of just go on vacation for a little while. You're the hardest working man in sports.
That's probably where we're going to land, although I have texted, and this will not surprise anyone who knows my fascination with the World Baseball Classic, I have made contact with the president of the Italian Baseball Federation, and I may, in fact, share a glass of Chianti with him at some point in time in the week and discuss all the important affairs of the Italian national team.
I could just sit here and listen to JP name off Italian soccer players all day long.
I was going to say, I would expect nothing
fantastic.
less, John, than you fixing all the problems over there with Italian soccer,
we got
with
some work
Team
to do.
Italy, the World Baseball Classic. JP, the Mariners do have some problems, though.
They do.
And, we had kind of talked about Bryce Miller and the importance of seeing what he would come up with in his second start Hurt back from the IL. Well, it turns out all right. He's going back on the IL again. So where do the Mariners go from here now with Bryce Miller back on the IL?
It is certainly now a concern. And I would say this, that long before the Mariners spend any internal capital to trade for the bats that they also need, they have to address the rotation first. That's where job one has to be. Now, does that mean they're going to have to get clever with a waiver claim or finding someone who's a AAA somewhere and sign them to a major league contract? It may have to be around the margins for now. But to me, now it was a very positive start from Kirby. That was really good to see, that it looks like he's getting closer to being himself and not a moment too soon. Because the Mariners, I think, need not only Kirby to be vintage Kirby, but this Miller news is concerning enough for me that I would say you probably have to go on an all-out search for some starting pitching help at the deadline. The options there are not terribly exciting, at least those that are available right now, to be fair. I checked on the Atlanta Braves, was told no, they're not going to move Chris Sale, as much as I think every contending team would like them to do that because of where the Braves are in the standings. So I don't think Chris Sale is walking through that door, but they're going to have to, I think, get really clever with the right pitcher to come in. And we talked before, Tyler Mahle, I think, would be a phenomenal fit if the Rangers decide to sell. But I think for now it's just becoming very clear to me, guys, that pitching is where the Mariners have to go at the trade deadline.
So, JP, if they do go with a couple of bats or a bat and try to bolster the offensive side, are there any names out there that you're looking at that you have in mind for the Mariners that would fit in?
Well, we've talked before about the potential of Ryan O'Hearn. I think he is a bat that is very popular right now. But one more name that I would mention from within the division, once the Angels get around to being comfortable with selling, could be Taylor Ward. Now, Ward is under contract not just for this year but next year as well, so there would be some insurance there. Similar profile in some ways to Mitch Haniger, but I think in general he's younger and offers excuse me, a little bit of allergies going on. He offers a bit more, I think, Taylor Ward does in terms of his athleticism. So I would say at the moment, a player like a Taylor Ward, I would recommend. I don't think that Rafael Devers is going to be an option. I know there's some whispers about his dissatisfaction with the way things were looking with his playing time there in Boston, or what his role was going to be. I don't think we're going to see anything with him. I think Oakland seems to like what their group is right now. They just called up Denzel Clark. What a phenomenal player he's already proven to be, especially in center field. So again, I think for now, Taylor Ward is the option I would mention, and also potentially Yoan Moncada, also with the Angels. He's someone that obviously had a bit of an up and down career with Chicago and has had to come back on something of a prove-it deal, and he's proven today. I think he's at least a competent league average bat. So those are some names of guys that will likely not cost a tremendous amount in prospects. Again, potentially Taylor Ward and Yoan Moncada with the Angels.
Well, JP, I guess the question is, until that trade deadline, what happens to this Mariners offense? Can it hold up? I mean, I don't think, or maybe you have a different opinion on this, I don't think it would be possible to make a move early. I know trades sometimes take all the way up towards that deadline. So what do you think happens with this team offensively, until they can find some help there? Maybe it's first base or all those guys just mentioned. What can they do until additions come?
Well, I think that internally they have to hope for maybe a little bit better health. And obviously they brought Canzone up after the Taveras experiment for a period of time. So he'll certainly get an opportunity. Unclear exactly what that means in terms of how many starts and at-bats. But I share your concern. I think that the solutions, again, this team has already made changes to the hitting coach hierarchy since within the last couple of years, and so they've had some new voices, they've had some new bats, but there's only so much they can do in terms of the reliance they've got right now on Cal Raleigh. If you set Cal Raleigh aside, this lineup is probably worse than the lineups that weren't good enough in the last couple of years. That makes sense. I'll repeat that. If you set Raleigh aside, it's a worse lineup than what they've had, and actually he has kept them somewhat close to league average. But aside from him, and if he's not on a particular night, and again, you can't. He's not LeBron James. He's not going to, in his prime, he's not going to score 25 points a night. You can't have a player carry you, one guy, all the way to the playoffs. And I think that we're seeing now the limitations on the current construction of this Mariner lineup, and I think they're just going to have more of the internal guys step up and put the ball in play a bit more, maybe even change the approach a little bit, maybe play at different times a bit of a different hit-and-run style at times. But you can't do that unless you got guys on base and the ball in play. So I think this remains a struggle for this team. I think in general, because of Cal, they're better than last year. They are. But how much? And are they going to be able to keep up now with what is an admittedly flawed Houston team? That's probably the part that I'm sure for Mariner fans frustrates them the most, is that this should be a year they win the division. It really should, because the Astros of 25 are not the Astros of 21 and 22. They're not. And so they're vulnerable. But the Mariners to this point in time are not taking full advantage of that because their offense is spotty, and their pitching is more injured than it's been, certainly in the last several years.
As far as Cal and the season that he's having, I don't know. I don't expect him to, continue on at this pace, but I don't also see him going into a slump, and it kind of has to do with his character. He's not a real up and down guy, and I know you've talked to him before, GAP, but you just get like a feeling of calm from him. He's not one of those guys that's gonna, that you figure, the coaches always say, don't get too high, don't get too low, and he just seems like that kind of guy. So is there anything about what you're seeing from him that makes you think that it's just like a lucky streak here, or what are you thinking about, like how sustainable it is with Cal?
Well, it is sustainable, and the reality is, and we can talk about what he's on pace for and what the numbers say. He's halfway to the best power hitting season by a catcher ever. Sal Perez has the single season record at 48, and right now Cal is well on pace to surpass 50 home runs, and it's amazing to say that. Two things stand out to me. He's a switch hitter, so he's never going to have what you would describe as a bad matchup. Right. So he's never going to have a bad matchup where he's just at the mercy of someone's devastating slider and he's got no shot. He has zero at-bats like that. None. It's interesting that for some catchers, and it was true for Jorge Posada, a fellow switch-hitting catcher, and even Veritek had some very good career years later in his career. Sometimes because catchers see so many pitches in their defensive vocation, they actually become better at tracking the ball the longer they play.
That's interesting.
It's a unique, if you look back at some of Bob Boone's years, of course, the father of ex-Mariner Brett Boone, if you look at some of Bob Boone's career years, he had better seasons later on. And I think part of that was he had kind of figured out that the durability, seeing a lot of pitches concept. And yeah, Sal Perez is having a down year in Kansas City now, but you see a lot of catchers who go out with really, really strong offensive years. And again, I think that if you look at Jorge Posada's career, I think one of his better years, he was 40 years old, 39 or 40. And so Posada maybe is one of those players that you kind of track and look at and say Cal could have that kind of a career. So I think at this point, the sky's the limit. Now, the one thing I'll say that's unique among catchers and why probably very few of them have gotten to the 40 home run mark, period, is there is that risk of wearing down. If you base your offense around a catcher who almost never takes a full day off because he's either, DH and is in the lineup in different ways, it's just that's a recipe for a burnout at the end of the season. I just think that it's almost impossible. And again, we talk about the pace, and the reality is Cal has set himself up to even have some space to slow down a bit and still hit 50 home runs because he's been just that good in the first half. And my point is he probably will slow down because he's a catcher. So if you look at the whole universe of catching, very often they will slow down towards the second half. It's just such a physically, mentally demanding position. And listen, I love the All-Star game. I love the Home Run Derby. From a Mariner perspective, they might love him to get a little more time off around that time because of just how much of a burden he's going to have to carry for this team. He wants to do it, I'm sure, and it's going to be fun for him. But I do think as a catcher, you're just especially susceptible to burnout, and every swing, everything is going to be precious for Cal and the Mariners down the stretch.
John, I'm sure you planned this to be perfectly timed, your conversation with Randy Johnson in your Road to Cooperstown podcast when the Mariners were playing the Diamondbacks. So we have that great connection with Randy Johnson and these two teams. And, his number 51 will be honored here next year in Seattle. It already hangs up there in Chase Field. I want to get your thoughts on your conversation with him. But first, here's a little blurb from your podcast, your interview with Randy Johnson, about how it felt when he returned to pitch in Seattle as a visitor.
The games going back there were always emotional. That was where my resume was. That's where I built my resume. That's where everything clicked in. And so that's why it was emotional. And then obviously, I think I left when I was 35, 36 years old. I don't know. I don't remember. At that point, yeah, I thought I gave my best years and wasn't looking to be traded, didn't ask to be traded, My family was happy there. I was happy there. But it didn't work out that way. I'd had a back surgery earlier, during that stint in Seattle. And I was 35, 36, I guess, or maybe whatever it was. And, maybe ownership thought I was, on the downside of my career. I don't know.
Yeah, JP, a really insightful conversation there. What did you learn from talking with Randy?
I learned a lot from Randy Johnson. And by the way, the year that he was traded, that was his age 34 season when he went from Seattle to Houston, where he became one of the best ever trade deadline acquisitions in 11 starts, by the way, a 1.28 ERA for the Astros. 1.28. And, of course, that deal worked out pretty well for the Mariners when you consider Freddie Garcia, Carlos Guillen, John Halama all came back and were part of some pretty special Mariner teams there in the late 90s, early 2000s. But the thing about Johnson is the longevity. Of course, he got to 300 wins. He had one of his better years. It was age 40 season. He finished second in the Cy Young that year. In his age 40 season, he threw 245 and 2/3 innings, made 35 starts, and struck out a Major League best 290 batters at the age of 40. And that's where he was probably on track to become a Hall of Famer, more or less, when he left Seattle. But I do think Arizona is where he closed that case. That case became rock solid when he left the Diamondbacks, because to that point, we have to remember, with Seattle, he didn't really establish himself as a full-time starter until he was 26 years old, because there was wildness for him in the minor leagues. And I think it's important to remember that and for a lot of the players I've interviewed on the road to Cooperstown, success did not come immediately. There were a lot of ups and downs, whether it was rookie ball struggles or in the case of Johnson, took some time to establish himself. And he actually said to me, another part of the interview that was very, very poignant, it's around the 21-minute mark, if you have a chance to download it wherever you get your podcast or listen on the SiriusXM app. Around the 21-minute mark, he talks about the passing of his father on Christmas Day, 1992. And he said that the passing of his father, it really changed him emotionally. He said that after that, he really pitched with a greater sense of emotion and purpose, and even anger at losing his dad at such a young age. And he said that emotional depth really propelled that phase of his career with the Seattle Mariners. So it was just a fascinating conversation. He had a reputation, as you know, for during his career of not being especially voluble in his dealings with the media. He didn't talk a lot. But I'll say this. I've interviewed probably now, more than 20 people for this podcast. And I would say over the hour, I probably asked the fewest questions to Randy Johnson of anybody that I interviewed, because he required so little guidance to really open up. He's in a different headspace now in his retirement. And he talks a lot about how in the 2009 season, his final year, he gets 300 wins, and he's able to mentor the young Giants starting pitchers, Tim Lincecum, Matt Cain. And, of course, the next year the Giants win the World Series. And so Randy said to me that he really sort of poured into those relationships with the young Giants pitchers at that time and really kind of changed his perspective on life and in baseball. It was a fascinating hour-long conversation with someone who I really didn't know had that sort of dynamism in terms of his overall perspective on baseball and life.
Boy, he is just an intense person.
Yes.
Intense,
but now very thoughtful, Dave. He's into photography. He's just
that's right.
The person that you saw on the mound, like glaring in and saying Lord knows what on the mound as he was striking batters out. He's just a different guy. It was like I felt like I was talking to a very friendly cousin of mine for an hour. It was just a very easy dialogue to where, and you heard his tone of voice, like he's very reflective now in a way that I think would be very surprising to a lot of Mariner fans.
Yeah, it was interesting. I met him when I was playing for the Seahawks, and he was over there taking pictures. That's why he came. Right. He came over. So yeah, just very interesting cat. No question about that.
Yeah, and many layers. He played. Initially, the thought was he was going to be a two-sport athlete at USC. And then he decided, of course, to go and play for the legendary baseball coach Rod Dedeaux. But he was a basketball player, and he thought that was going to be part of his journey. And it was a bullpen session when he was going through a lot of wildness. He couldn't locate the ball. Delivery was all over the place. Tom House, who's a noted pitching instructor, and Nolan Ryan, when he was actually still a Mariner, there was a Texas-Seattle series. And Tom House basically introduced him to Nolan Ryan and said, Nolan's got some advice for you, and we're going to talk about this a little bit. And they had a conversation about pitching. Something clicked. Now he's in the Hall of Fame.
Wow. Yeah, great stuff. So everyone go listen to that interview, the latest edition of the Road to Cooperstown podcast, a very entertaining and insightful conversation. You heard a clip of it with John Morosi, our guy right here, and Randy Johnson, so some great stuff there. And John, always some great stuff with you. It sounds like we're going to have to coordinate our international schedules, but we will certainly find a time next week to catch up with you again.
This would be I think 11:51 in the evening, Italy time. So I'm not sure that I'll be able to wake up the entire hotel room to make that a plausible conversation. But we'll figure something out. And at the very least, by the time we next talk, I'll have some good Kraken draft speculation for you too, in the midst of all the other things going on.
Of course, wouldn't expect anything less.
Great tease.
Yeah. Thanks, JP. Appreciate it.
Thanks, JP. Have a great week. Thank you so much. Thanks.
All right, there's our guy John Morosi from MLB Network and NHL Network, and doing some Italian, Serie A league scouting over there. So he's done it all, Dave. He's done it all.
He is an amazing guy. I mean, I talked about Randy Johnson being really intense, but JP is just so passionate about everything that he does. So such an asset to have him on this show. I love talking to JP. But yeah, it was interesting with Randy Johnson. I mean, I've heard some stories, about him that he was, let's just say, really intense. Yeah. And so, yeah, and he's very much a no nonsense kind of guy. So, and if he wasn't pleased, he would let you know. And but man, that definitely came through, and it's pretty incredible that he was a two-sport athlete. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine, standing at the plate with Randy Johnson pitching at you. First of all, when he comes down the mound, it probably feels like he's like halfway there, and then just the intensity. And then the other thing about, remember in Bull Durham where he's like, hey, this guy's all over the place. I'd watch it, I mean, I'm sure that's what Dave Valley was telling some of the hitters. Like, I don't know where he's going to throw this thing, but it's going to be like 100 miles an hour. So.
Yeah, and then he went on and had a very long career. And he did mention in that interview with John Morosi that he had to go into the Hall of Fame as a Diamondback because, he won a World Series there. But they did talk about how special and how much he held Seattle in his heart. And I know that he mentioned it on a conference call he had after the announcement that his jersey number is being retired, that, it really was tough for him. He did not want to leave. And he mentioned that in that little clip there that you heard, that blurb, that he had a family. He was 35. He had established himself. Yeah. So it probably had to come as a shock, but he had that resurgence of his career. So what a baseball career, Randy Johnson. A multi-time All-Star. And speaking of All-Stars, Dave, the 2025 All-Star ballot is open. Cal, Julio, JP, and the crew need your help to secure a spot at this year's Midsummer Classic in Atlanta. Vote 5 times per day, every day, through June 26th at MLB.com/vote. Well, we are out here at Seahawks minicamp. We are at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center, and practice is wrapping up. So when we come back, at some point slightly after 3 o'clock, Boye Mafe will join us here on set to talk about day one of Seahawks minicamp and this entire offseason. That comes up next here on the Wyman and Bob Show on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Seahawks head coach Mike McDonald, exclusively with Brock and Salk.
Your cohort, Mr. Schneider, talked a lot this offseason about pivoting. How was all of that?
It's kind of how we operate. You're looking at the lens of what we're trying to build, what's going to be best for us. I know it seemed like a lot, but we had time kind of behind the scenes here. And I thought we ended up with a team we're really excited about. The guys that are here are fired up for.
Watch the full conversation on the Seattle Sports YouTube page or get the podcast on the Seattle Sports app.
We need